I think it's safe to say that by now we are all aware of the fact that the moon landings were very much real and not some Hollywood production. But what if I told you that NASA has been hiding something from us about the moon that they do want us to know? There's one place in particular on the moon where it seems like our eyes are being kept open. The far side of the moon, which is always hidden from our view here on Earth. These images were grainy and low resolution, but they revealed a completely different landscape than the one we see on the side facing us. A lot of craters and dark patches, which are actually ancient lava flows. Well, we have only ever seen it through the blurry lens of old cameras, and it reveals something extremely suspicious. Take this image, for example, which was also taken by Apollo 8, showing off a large dark patch on the far side. It looks like the resolution is better in this image, but zoom in on this structure here, which looks very much like a tower of some kind. But it appears to be heavily blurred. The resolution of these old photos are quite bad, and things look much clearer with modern cameras. We can even see windows on the side of this object, just vanished into thin air. There is no way that this could be a camera error, as these are two separate missions taking images many years apart. Looking at this again, the structure inside the blue circle almost looks like a doorway cut out of the side of a mountain. The first close-up images of the far side of the moon came from the Soviet Union's Luna 3 spacecraft back in 1959. A year later, Luna 4 would become the first spacecraft to land on the far side of the moon. It's all very suspicious and makes you wonder if NASA really is hiding something from us. NASA's Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter spacecraft has been orbiting the moon since 2009, taking high-resolution images of both the near and far side. But when looking at the far side, there seems to be a lot of missing pieces. You can clearly see the floor of the crater and the ejected material that formed the rim. But now, look at this crater on the far side. It's not nearly as detailed, and we couldn't see the floor of the crater or the material that makes up the rim. And Soviet Union governments made an agreement to not explore the far side of the moon back in the 60s. But when you zoom in, it's clear that these craters aren't as detailed as the ones on the near side. Well, it's because the moon is blocking our communication with Earth. The far side of the moon has no direct line of communication with our satellites here on Earth, making it impossible to send and receive signals. Which is why every Apollo mission had to perform a burn to put themselves into lunar orbit on the far side before landing on the moon. So why are we still sending them there? Some people believe that the reason NASA won't talk about the far side is because they do want to confirm the existence of alien structures there, so way they could communicate with the TDRSS satellites in orbit around Earth. This was due to the fact that the Cold War was still in full swing, and nuclear war could break out at any moment. These satellites would relay signals between the astronauts on the moon and the tracking stations on Earth. Here we can see a large structure which kind of looks like an overturned pyramid, but also seems to be heavily blurred. Proponents of this theory point to the blurry or missing images as evidence that NASA is hiding something. They sent back these incredible videos showing the rover driving around on the alien landscape. Of course, there is no concrete evidence to support these claims, and they remain just that, theories. Again, looking at a more recent photo taken by the Korea Pathfinder lunar lander in 2019. It looks like this structure is still there, but it's much more clear now. We've come so far in space exploration, yet it seems like there's still so much that we don't know. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And as always, thanks for watching. But it gets weirder because when you compare it to NASA's own footage of their rovers on the moon, it's clear that the Chinese rover is moving much faster than NASA's. But sadly, it was unable to transmit any data back to Earth, as its signal was blocked by the moon getting in the way. They were tasked to take photos of the far side of the moon, and while they did capture plenty of photos, this one area is notably missing. And when the United States took over the space race and began landing astronauts on the moon, it seems like NASA had an agreement with the Soviet Union to keep the far side of the moon out of sight. But this does unexplain why NASA won't release higher resolution images of the far side or even send new missions there. But strangely, the center of this smaller crater seems to be missing, as if something huge was removed. This image was declassified and released to the public after more than 40 years, which makes you wonder why NASA waited so long to show us this. Take this photo, for example, which was taken by Apollo 8 in December 1968, the first manned mission to orbit the moon. In this photo, we can see a big crater in the center with a smaller crater at the bottom right. And this isn't the only photo where something strange is going on. And just look at this photo taken by Apollo 15 in July 1971. When comparing it to this newer image taken by Google's Lunar X Prize competition in 2015, you can see that the structure is still there, but now it's much clearer. But wait until we see what is inside this blue circle in this photo taken by Apollo 16 in April 1972. It's also weird how in this newer image taken by the Japanese Selene spacecraft in 2008, the structure is now gone. Then there's this image taken by Apollo 17 in December 1972. These are just a few examples of the many photos where strange structures appear to have been blurred out or are completely missing. It's possible that the reason we don't know what is on the other side of the moon is because the US. So to prevent either side from taking advantage of the situation, they agreed to only focus their efforts on the near side of the moon. Well, let me tell you, they already have. This image shows a region called the South Pole, Aitken region, which is very important because it could hold water ice that could potentially be used by future moon bases. For example, take this photo of a crater on the near side. And let's not forget about China's Change 4 mission in 2019, which became the first spacecraft to land on the far side of the moon. But most of the time, there seemed to be a bit of static interfering with the feed, making it look like a VHS tape from the 1980s. If we assume that these speeds are correct and the footage hasn't been tampered with, then it means that the surface of the moon is thousands of times stronger than we think, meaning the crust is hollow. But why exactly is the far side of the moon such a radio silent zone? To solve this problem, NASA designed their Apollo missions to use special satellites in orbit around the moon known as the Communications and Tracking Data Relay Satellites, or TDRs. But even with these special satellites, the far side of the moon is still a dead zone. But with today's technology, we should be able to easily communicate with spacecraft on the far side of the moon, without the need for special relay satellites. Well, it might be because the far side of the moon holds secrets that NASA simply doesn't want us to know. Many conspiracy theories claim that there are giant structures on the far side of the moon left behind by an ancient alien race. Others believe that the government is hiding evidence of past alien activity on the moon, such as footprints or other artifacts that could prove once life really did exist there. But it does make you wonder why NASA is still so tight-lipped about the far side of the moon. So what do you think? Is there something on the far side of the moon that NASA doesn't want us to know?